Hi, Kevin Coupe here, and this is FaceTime with the Content Guy. So, I have a confession to make. When I started Morning Newsbeat more than 10 years ago, I had some basic personal goals. I wanted to travel to interesting places. I wanted to meet and talk to fascinating people. I wanted to eat great food and drink great wine. I wanted to learn a lot. I wanted to have a great time doing it, and I wanted to write about it. And those were my personal goals, and I've been pretty lucky. Pretty much that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years. And I'm lucky because people keep signing up for Morning Newsbeat and reading about it. And this week in Florida was sort of an example of how things sort of work out for me sometimes. So I'm in Florida, and I'm attending and doing a panel discussion at the Food Marketing Institute Midwinter Executive Conference. But while I was here, I wanted to talk to somebody I've wanted to meet for a long time. His name is Bob Morris, and you may know Bob Morris's name because he is the author of a series of mystery novels starring a former football player named Zach Chastain. And these are terrific novels. They have a nice Carl Hiaasen feel about them, and they're really great. I love reading them. He's also a former newspaper reporter and magazine writer. He just seems like an interesting guy. And I wanted to meet Bob in part because he recently came out with a series of ebooks, right? And basically the ebooks are various compilations of columns he'd done on a variety of subjects over the years. Family, food, travel, that sort of thing. But I was fascinated by this because they are, in fact, ebooks. They cost like $2.99 on Kindle. I thought this was really interesting, that he had made the move from traditional, regular print and ink books to ebooks. And I wanted to talk to him about it. I was also interested because in addition to doing the ebooks and other kinds of writing that he's doing, he is also the owner of a company called Story Farm. And Story Farm is basically a custom publisher that does vanity books. They do histories for companies. They do coffee table books, cookbooks, that sort of a thing. And he makes the point on his website that he believes very strongly that traditional print and ink books those are not going to be replaced by ebooks in the long term. So I sent him an email. He agreed to have lunch, a couple of adult beverages, and listen, he was a great guy, and I was fascinated with the conversation. By the way, I will put the links to the ebooks on the text version of this because I think they're really worth reading. They're fun, they're breezy. But basically, Bob's message to me was, listen, as a writer, I've got to do a lot of different things. The print books were great, but in terms of doing these compilations, it simply made more sense to disintermediate the traditional publisher, to try and do it himself, they get out there faster, he could charge less money for it, he could make more money at it. It simply made sense to cut out the middle person and go directly to the reader. Makes a lot of sense. On the other hand, he said, it makes sense to be a custom publisher because there is still a market for that. And he needs to cover as many bases as he can if he wants to be successful and continue to be a working writer who's making a living at it. First of all, as a working writer who's making a living at it, I totally get this. You have to do as many different things as you can. But I also think this is a wonderful metaphor for what all businesses need to do. First of all, you got to cover your bets. You got to do as many different things as you can so you can have a thriving business that can survive, downturns, upturns, that sort of thing. But at the same time, whenever you can, it makes sense to cut out the middle person if that's going to get you closer to your eventual consumer. And that's not necessarily good news for retailers, who may at some point find that manufacturers are going to try and disintermediate them out of the relationship. It's one of the reasons retailers need to know more and about their shoppers, what they're buying, when they're buying, and how they're buying it, than manufacturers are ever going to know, because it's going to mean they're more important to the relationship. So Bob Morris, terrific writer, great guy, also strikes me as being a very strong metaphor for what all businesses need to do. It's what you need to do. It's what I need to do. It's what we all need to do if we're going to survive the e-revolution that is taking over the year 2012 and beyond. Anyway, that's what's on my mind this Thursday morning, and as always, I want to hear what's on your mind.